his master gives him a wife, and he gets sons or daughters by her, the wife and her children will be the property of the master, and the servant is to go away by himself. But if the servant says clearly, "My master and my wife and children are dear to me, I have no desire to be free," then his master is to take him to the gods of the house, and at the door or at its framework he is to make a hole in his ear with a sharp-pointed instrument, and he will be his servant forever. And if a man gives his daughter for a price to be a servant, she is not to go away free as the men servants do. If she is not pleasing to her master who has taken her for himself, let a payment be made for her so that she may go free. Her master has no power to get a price for her and send her to a strange land because he has been false to her. And if he gives her to his son, he is to do everything for her as if she was his daughter. And if he takes another woman, her food and clothing and her married rights are not to be less. And if he does not do these 3 things for her, she has the right to go free without payment. He who gives a man a death blow is himself to be put to death. But if he had no evil purpose against him, and God gave him into his hand, I will give you a place to which he may go in flight. But if a man makes an attack on his neighbor on purpose, to put him to death by deceit, you are to take him from my altar and put him to death. Any man who gives a blow to his father or his mother is certainly to be put to death. Any man who gets another into his power in order to get a price for him is to be put to death if you take him in the act. Any man cursing his father or his mother is to be put to death. If in a fight one man gives another a blow with a stone or with the shut hand, not causing his death, but making him keep in bed, if he is able to get up again and go about with a stick, the other will be let off. Only he will have to give him payment for the loss of his time and see that he is cared for till he is well. If a man gives his manservant or his womanservant blows with a rod, causing death, he is certainly to undergo punishment. But at the same time, if the servant goes on living for a day or 2, the master is not to get punishment, for the servant is his property. If men while fighting do damage to a woman with child, causing the loss of the child, but no other evil comes to her, the man will have to make payment up to the amount fixed by her husband in agreement with the decision of the judges. But if damage comes to her, let life be given in payment for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burning for burning, wound for wound, blow for blow. If a man gives his manservant or his womanservant a blow in the eye, causing its destruction, he is to let him go free on account of the damage to his eye. Or if the loss of a tooth is caused by his blow, he will let him go free on account of his tooth. If an ox comes to be the cause of death to a man or a woman, the ox is to be stoned, and its flesh may not be used for food, but the owner will not be judged responsible. But if the ox has frequently done such damage in the past, and the owner has had word of it and has not kept it under control, so that it has been the cause of the death of a man or woman, not only is the ox to be stoned, but its owner is to be put to death. If a price is put on his life, let him make payment of whatever price is fixed. If the death of a son or of a daughter has been caused, the punishment is to be in agreement with this rule. If the death of a manservant or of a womanservant is caused by the ox, the owner is to give their master 30 shekels of silver, and the ox is to be stoned. If a man makes a hole in the earth without covering it up, and an ox or an ass dropping into it comes to its death, the owner of the hole is responsible. He will have to make payment to their owner, but the dead beast will be his. And if one man's ox does damage to another man's ox, causing its death, then the living ox is to be exchanged for money, and division made of the price of it, and of the price of the dead one. But if it is common knowledge that the ox has frequently done such damage in the past, and its owner has not kept it under control, he will have to give ox for ox, and the dead beast will be his. Chapter 22. If a man takes without right another man's ox or his sheep and puts it to death or gets a price for it, he is to give 5 oxen for an ox, or 4 sheep for a sheep in payment. The thief will have to make payment for what he has taken. If he has no money, he himself will have to be exchanged for money so that payment may be made. If he still has what he had taken, whatever it is, ox or ass or sheep, he is to give twice its value. If a thief is taken in the act of forcing his way into a house and his death is caused by a blow, the owner of the house is not responsible for his blood, but if it is after dawn, he will be responsible. If a man makes a fire in a field or a vine garden and lets the fire do damage to another man's field, he is to give of the best produce of his field or his vine garden to make up for it. If there is a fire and the flames get to the thorns at the edge of the field, causing destruction of the cut grain or of the living grain or of the field, he who made the fire will have to make up for the damage. If a man puts money or goods in the care of his neighbor to keep for him, and it is taken from the man's house, if they get the thief, he will have to make payment of twice the value. If they do not get the thief, let the master of the house come before the judges and take an oath that he has not put his hand on his neighbor's goods. If any question about an ox or an ass or a sheep or clothing, or about the loss of any property which anyone says is his, let the two sides put their cause before God, and he who is judged to be in the wrong is to make payment to his neighbor of twice the value. If a man puts an ass or an ox or a sheep or any beast into the keeping of his neighbor, and it comes to death or is damaged or is taken away without any person seeing it, if he takes his oath before the Lord that he has not put his hand to his neighbor's goods, the owner is to take his word for it, and he will not have to make payment for it. But if it is taken from him by a thief, he is to make up for the loss of it to its owner. But if it has been damaged by a beast, and he is able to make this clear, he will not have to make payment for what was damaged. If a man gets from his neighbor the use of one of his beasts, and it is damaged or put to death when the owner is not with it, he will certainly have to make payment for the loss. If the owner is with it, he will not have to make payment. If he gave money for the use of it, the loss is covered by the payment. If a man takes a virgin who has not given her word to another man and has connection with her, he will have to give a bride price for her to be his wife. If her father will not give her to him on any account, he will have to give the regular payment for virgins. Any woman using unnatural powers or secret arts is to be put to death. Any man who has sex connection with a beast is to be put to death. Complete destruction will come on any man who makes offerings to any other god but the Lord. Do no wrong to a man from a strange country, and do not be hard on him, for you yourselves were living in a strange country in the land of Egypt. Do no wrong to a widow or to a child whose father is dead. If you are cruel to them in any way, and their cry comes up to me, I will certainly give ear, and in the heat of my wrath I will put you to death with the sword, so that your wives will be widows and your children without fathers. If you let any of the poor among my people have the use of your money, do not be a hard creditor to him, and do not take interest. If ever you take your neighbor's clothing in exchange for the use of your money, let him have it back before the sun goes down, for it is the only thing he has for covering his skin. What is he to go to sleep in? And when his cry comes up to me, I will give ear, for my mercy is great. You may not say evil of the judges or put a curse on the ruler of your people. Do not keep back your offerings from the wealth of your grain and your vines. The first of your sons you are to give to me. In the same way with your oxen and your sheep. For 7 days let the young one be with its mother. On the 8th day give it to me. You are to be holy men to me. The flesh of no animal whose death has been caused by the beasts of the field may be used for your food. It is to be given to the dogs. Chapter 23. Do not let a false statement go further. Do not make an agreement with evildoers to be a false witness. Do not be moved to do wrong by the general opinion, or give the support of your words to a wrong decision. But on the other hand, do not be turned from what is right in order to give support to a poor man's cause. If you come across the ox or the ass of one who is no friend to you wandering from its way, you are to take it back to him. If you see the ass of one who has no love for you bent down to the earth under the weight which is put on it, you are to come to its help, even against your desire. Let no wrong decisions be given in the poor man's cause. Keep yourselves far from any false business. Never let the upright or him who has done no wrong be put to death, for I will make the evildoer responsible for his sin. Take no rewards in a cause, for rewards make blind those who have eyes to see, and make the decisions of the upright false. Do not be hard on the man from a strange country who is living among you, for you have had experience of the feelings of one who is far from the land of his birth, because you yourselves were living in Egypt, in a strange land. For 6 years put seed into your fields, and get in the increase. But in the 7th year let the land have a rest, and be unplanted, so that the poor may have food from it, and let the beasts of the field take the rest. Do the same with your vine gardens and your olive trees. For 6 days do your work, and on the 7th day keep the Sabbath, so that your ox and your ass may have rest, together with the son of your servant and the man from a strange land living among you. Take note of all these things which I have said to you, and let not the names of other gods come into your minds or from your lips. 3 times in the year you are to keep a feast to me. You are to keep the feast of unleavened bread. For 7 days let your bread be without leaven, as I gave you orders at the regular time in the month Abib, for in it you came out of Egypt. And let no one come before me without an offering. And the feast of the grain cutting, the first fruits of your planted fields, and the feast at the start of the year when you have got in all the fruit from your fields. 3 times in the year let all your males come before the Lord God. Do not give the blood of my offering with leavened bread, and do not let the fat of my feast be kept all night till the morning. The best of the first fruits of your land are to be taken into the house of the Lord your God. The young goat is not to be cooked in its mother's milk. See, I am sending an angel before you to keep you on your way and to be your guide into the place which I have made ready for you. Give attention to him and give ear to his voice. Do not go against him, for your wrongdoing will not be overlooked by him, because my name is in him. But if you truly give ear to his voice and do whatever I say, then I will be against those who are against you, fighting those who are fighting you. And my angel will go before you, guiding you into the land of the Amorite, and the Hittite, and the Perizzite, and the Canaanite, and the Hivite, and the Jebusite, and they will be cut off by my hand. Do not go down on your faces and give worship to their gods, or do as they do, but overcome them completely, and let their pillars be broken down, and give worship to the Lord your God, who will send his blessing on your bread and on your water, and I will take all disease away from among you. All your animals will give birth without loss, not one will be without young in all your land. I will give you a full measure of life. I will send my fear before you, putting to flight all the people to whom you come. All those who are against you will go in flight, turning their backs before you. I will send hornets before you, driving out the Hivite, and the Canaanite, and the Hittite before your face. I will not send them all out in 1 year, for fear that your land may become waste, and the beasts of the field be increased overmuch against you. Little by little I will send them away before you, till your numbers are increased, and you take up your heritage in the land. I will let the limits of your land be from the Red Sea to the Sea of the Philistines, and from the wasteland to the river Euphrates. For I will give the people of those lands into your power, and you will send them out before you. Make no agreement with them or with their gods. Let them not go on living in your land, or they will make you do evil against me. For if you give worship to their gods, it will certainly be a cause of sin to you. Chapter 24. And he said to Moses, Come up to the Lord, you and Aaron and Nadab and Abihu and 70 of the chiefs of Israel, and give me worship from a distance. And Moses only may come near to the Lord, but the others are not to come near, and the people may not come up with them. Then Moses came and put before the people all the words of the Lord and his laws. And men of the children of Israel to make burnt offerings and peace offerings of oxen to the Lord. And Moses took half the blood and put it in basins, draining out half of the blood over the altar. And he took the book of the agreement, reading it in the hearing of the people. And they said, "Everything which the Lord has said we will do, and we will keep his laws." Then Moses took the blood and let it come on the people, and said, "This blood is the sign of the agreement which the Lord has made with you in these words." Then Moses and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, and 70 of the chiefs of Israel went up, and they saw the God of Israel, and under his feet there was, as it seemed, a jeweled floor, clear as the heavens. And he put not his hand on the chiefs of the children of Israel. They saw God, and took food and drink. And the Lord said to Moses, "Come up to me on the mountain, and take your place there, and I will give you the stones on which I have put in writing the law and the orders, so that you may give the people knowledge of them." Then Moses and Joshua his servant got up, and Moses went up into the mountain of God. And he said to the chiefs, "Keep your places here till we come back to you. Aaron and Hur are with you. If anyone has any cause, let him go to them." And Moses went up into the mountain, and it was covered by the cloud. And the glory of the Lord was resting on Mount Sinai, and the cloud was over it for 6 days. And on the 7th day he said Moses' name out of the cloud. And the glory of the Lord was like a flame on the top of the mountain before the eyes of the children of Israel. And Moses went up the mountain into the cloud, and was there for 40 days and 40 nights. Chapter 25. And the Lord said to Moses, "Say to the children of Israel that they are to make me an offering. From every man who has the impulse in his heart, take an offering for me. And this is the offering you are to take from them: gold and silver and brass and blue and purple and red and the best linen and goat's hair and sheepskins colored red and leather and hard wood, oil for the light, spices for the sweet-smelling oil, sweet perfumes for burning, beryls and stones of value to be put on the ephod and on the priest's bag. And let them make me a holy place, so that I may be ever present among them. Make the house and everything in it from the designs which I will give you. And they are to make an ark of hard wood, 2.5 cubits long, and 1.5 cubits wide and high. It is to be plated inside and out with the best gold, with an edge of gold all round it. And make 4 rings of gold for it, to be fixed on its 4 feet, 2 rings on one side of it and 2 on the other. And make rods of the same wood, plating them with gold. And put the rods through the rings at the sides of the ark for lifting it. The rods are to be kept in the rings and never taken out. Inside the ark you are to put the record which I will give you, and you are to make a cover of the best gold, 2.5 cubits long and 1.5 cubits wide. And at the 2 ends of the cover you are to make 2 winged ones of hammered gold, one at one end and one at the other. The winged ones are to be part of the cover, and their wings are to be outstretched over the cover, and the winged ones are to be opposite one another, facing the cover. And put the cover over the ark, and in the ark the record which I will give you. And there, between the 2 winged ones on the cover of the ark, I will come to you face to face, and make clear to you all the orders I have to give you for the children of Israel. And you are to make a table of the same wood, 2 cubits long, 1 cubit wide, and 1.5 cubits high, plated with the best gold, with a gold edge all round it. And make a frame all round it, as wide as a man's hand, with a gold edge to the frame. And make 4 gold rings, and put them at the 4 angles on the 4 feet of the table. The rings are to be fixed under the frame to take the rods with which the table is to be lifted. Make rods of the same wood, plated with gold, for lifting the table. And make the table vessels, the spoons, and the cups, and the basins for liquid, all of the best gold. And on the table at all times you are to keep my holy bread. And you are to make a support for lights of the best gold. Its base and its pillar are to be of hammered gold. Its cups, its buds, and its flowers are to be made of the same metal. It is to have 6 branches coming out from its sides, 3 branches from one side and 3 from the other. Every branch having 3 cups made like almond flowers, every cup with a bud and a flower on all the branches. And on the pillar 4 cups like almond flowers, every one with its bud and its flower, and under every 2 branches a bud made with the branch for all the 6 branches of it. The buds and the branches are to be made of the same metal, altogether one complete work of hammered gold. Then you are to make it 7 vessels for the lights, putting them in their place so that they give light in front of it. And the instruments and trays for use with it are all to be of the best gold. A talent of gold will be needed for it with all these vessels, and see that you make them from the design which you saw on the mountain. Chapter 26. And you are to make a house for me with 10 curtains of the best linen, blue and purple and red, worked with designs of winged ones by a good workman. Every curtain is to be 28 cubits long and 4 cubits wide, all of the same measure. 5 curtains are to be joined together, and the other 5 are to be joined together. And you are to put twists of blue cord on the edge of the outside curtain of the first group of 5, and on the edge of the outside curtain of the second group of 5. 50 twists on one curtain, and 50 on the other, the twists to be opposite one another. Then make 50 gold hooks, joining the curtains together by the hooks, and in this way the house will be made. And you are to make curtains of goat's hair for a tent over the house, 11 curtains. Every curtain is to be 30 cubits long and 4 cubits wide, all of the same measure. 5 of these curtains are to be joined together, and the other 6 are to be joined together, the 6th being folded over to make a hanging in front of the tent. And you are to put 50 twists of cord on the edge of the outside curtain of one group, and 50 twists on the edge of the outside curtain of the other group. Then make 50 brass hooks, and put the hooks into the twists, joining the tent together to make it one. And the folded part, which is over of the curtains of the tent, the half curtain which is folded back, will be hanging down over the back of the house. And the cubit which is over of the 10 curtains at the sides will be hanging over the 2 sides of the house as a cover. And then you are to make a cover for the tent, of sheepskins colored red, and a cover of leather over that. And you are to make upright boards of hard wood for the house. Every board is to be 10 cubits high and a cubit and a half wide. Every board is to be joined to the one nearest to it by 2 tongues, and so for every board in the house. These are the boards needed for the house. 20 boards for the south side, with 40 silver bases under the 20 boards, 2 bases under every board to take its tongues. And 20 boards for the second side of the house on the north, with their 40 silver bases, 2 under every board. And 6 boards for the back of the house on the west, with 2 boards for the angles of the house at the back. The 2 are to be joined together at the base and at the top to one ring, forming the 2 angles. So there are to be 8 boards with their 16 silver bases, 2 bases under every board, and make rods of the same wood, 5 for the boards on the one side, and 5 for the boards on the other side of the house, and 5 for the west side of the house at the back. And the middle rod is to go through the rings of all the boards from end to end, and the boards are to be plated with gold, having gold rings for the rods to go through, and the rods are to be plated with gold. And you are to make the house from the design which you saw on the mountain. And you are to make a veil of the best linen, blue and purple and red, worked with designs of winged ones by a good workman, hanging it by gold hooks from 4 pillars of wood, plated with gold and fixed in silver bases. And you are to put up the veil under the hooks, and put inside it the ark of the law. The veil is to be a division between the holy place and the most holy. You are to put the cover on the ark of the law inside the most holy place. And outside the veil you are to put the table and the support for the lights opposite the table on the south side of the house. And the table is to be on the north side. And you are to make a curtain for the doorway of the tent of the best linen with needlework of blue and purple and red. And make 5 pillars for the curtain of hard wood plated with gold. Their hooks are to be of gold and their bases of brass. Chapter 27. And make an altar of hard wood, a square altar, 5 cubits long, 5 cubits wide, and 3 cubits high. Put horns at the 4 angles of it, made of the same, plating it all with brass. And make all its vessels, the baskets for taking away the dust of the fire, the spades and basins and meat hooks and fire trays of brass. And make a network of brass with 4 brass rings at its 4 angles, and put the network under the shelf round the altar so that the net comes halfway up the altar. And make rods for the altar of hard wood plated with brass, and put the rods through the rings at the 2 opposite sides of the altar for lifting it. The altar is to be hollow, boarded in with wood. Make it from the design which you saw on the mountain. And let there be an open space round the house, with hangings for its south side of the best linen, 100 cubits long. Their 20 pillars and their 20 bases are to be of brass. The hooks of the pillars and their bands are to be of silver. And on the north side, in the same way, hangings 100 cubits long, with 20 pillars of brass on bases of brass. Their hooks and their bands are to be of silver. And for the open space on the west side, the hangings are to be 50 cubits wide, with 10 pillars and 10 bases. And on the east side, the space is to be 50 cubits wide. On the one side of the doorway will be hangings 15 cubits long, with 3 pillars and 3 bases. And on the other side, hangings 15 cubits long, with 3 pillars and 3 bases. And across the doorway, a veil of 20 cubits of the best linen, made of needlework of blue and purple and red, with 4 pillars and 4 bases. All the pillars round the open space are to have silver bands, with hooks of silver and bases of brass. The open space is to be 100 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, with sides 5 cubits high, curtained with the best linen, with bases of brass. All the instruments for the work of the house, and all its nails, and the nails of the open space, are to be of brass. Give orders to the children of Israel to give you clear olive oil for the lights, so that a light may be burning there at all times. Let Aaron and his sons put this in order, evening and morning, before the Lord, inside the tent of meeting, outside the veil which is before the ark. This is to be an order forever, from generation to generation, to be kept by the children of Israel. Chapter 28. Now let Aaron your brother and his sons with him come near from among the children of Israel, so that they may be my priests, even Aaron and Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar his sons, and make holy robes for Aaron your brother, so that he may be clothed with glory and honor. Give orders to all the wise-hearted workmen whom I have made full of the spirit of wisdom, to make robes for Aaron, so that he may be made holy as my priest. This is what they are to make: a priest's bag, an ephod, and a robe, and a coat of colored needlework, a headdress, and a linen band. They are to make holy robes for Aaron your brother and for his sons, so that they may do the work of priests for me. They are to take the gold and blue and purple and red and the best linen, and make the ephod of gold and blue and purple and red and the best linen, the work of a designer. It is to have 2 bands stitched to it at the top of the arms, joining it together. And the beautifully worked band which goes on it is to be of the same work and the same material, of gold and blue and purple and red and twisted linen work. You are to take 2 beryl stones, on which the names of the children of Israel are to be cut, 6 names on the one stone and 6 on the other, in the order of their birth, with the work of a jeweler, like the cutting of a stamp. The names of the children of Israel are to be cut on them, and they are to be fixed in twisted frames of gold. And the 2 stones are to be placed on the ephod over the armholes, to be stones of memory for the children of Israel. Aaron will have their names on his arms when he goes in before the Lord, to keep the Lord in mind of them. And you are to make twisted frames of gold, and 2 chains of the best gold, twisted like cords, and have the chains fixed on to the frames. And make a priest's bag for giving decisions, designed like the ephod, made of gold and blue and purple and red and the best linen. It is to be square, folded in 2, a hand stretch long and a hand stretch wide, and on it you are to put 4 lines of jewels. The first line is to be a carnelian, a chrysolite, and an emerald. The second, a ruby, a sapphire, and an onyx. The third, a jacinth, an agate, and an amethyst. The fourth, a topaz, a beryl, and a jasper. They are to be fixed in twisted frames of gold. The jewels are to be 12 in number, for the names of the children of Israel, every jewel having the name of one of the 12 tribes cut on it as on a stamp. And you are to make 2 chains of gold, twisted like cords, to be fixed to the priest's bag, and put 2 gold rings on the 2 ends of the bag. Put the 2 gold chains on the 2 rings at the ends of the bag, joining the other ends of the chains to the gold frames and putting them on the front of the ephod at the top of the arms. Then make 2 gold rings and put them on the lower ends of the bag, at the edge of it on the inner side nearest to the ephod. And make 2 more gold rings and put them on the front of the ephod at the top of the arms, at the join, over the worked band, so that the rings on the bag may be fixed to the rings of the ephod by a blue cord and onto the band of the ephod, so that the bag may not come loose from the ephod. And so Aaron will have the names of the children of Israel on the priest's bag over his heart whenever he goes into the holy place, to keep the memory of them before the Lord. And in the bag you are to put the Urim and Thummim, so that they may be on Aaron's heart whenever he goes in before the Lord. And Aaron may have the power of making decisions for the children of Israel before the Lord at all times. The robe which goes with the ephod is to be made all of blue, with a hole at the top in the middle of it. The hole is to be edged with a band to make it strong like the hole in the coat of a fighting man, so that it may not be broken open. And round the skirts of it put fruits in blue and purple and red, with bells of gold between, a gold bell and a fruit in turn all round the skirts of the robe. Aaron is to put it on for his holy work, and the sound of it will be clear when he goes into the holy place before the Lord, and when he comes out, keeping him safe from death. You are to make a plate of the best gold, cutting on it, as on a stamp, these words, "Holy to the Lord." Put a blue cord on it and put it on the front of the twisted headdress, and it will be over Aaron's brow, so that Aaron will be responsible for any error in all the holy offerings made by the children of Israel. It will be on his brow at all times, so that their offerings may be pleasing to the Lord. The coat is to be made of the best linen, worked in squares, and you are to make a headdress of linen, and a linen band worked in needlework. And for Aaron's sons you are to make coats and bands and headdresses, so that they may be clothed with glory and honor. These you are to put on Aaron, your brother, and on his sons, putting oil on them, separating them and making them holy to do the work of priests to me. And you are to make them linen trousers, covering their bodies from the middle to the knee. Aaron and his sons are to put these on whenever they go into the tent of meeting or come near the altar, when they are doing the work of the holy place, so that they may be free from any sin causing death. This is to be in order for him and his seed after him forever. Chapter 29. This is what you are to do to make them holy, to do the work of priests to me. Take 1 young ox and 2 male sheep without any mark on them, and unleavened bread, and unleavened cakes mixed with oil, and thin unleavened cakes on which oil has been put, made of the best bread meal. Put these in a basket and take them with the ox and the 2 sheep, and let Aaron and his sons come to the door of the tent of meeting, and there let them be washed with water. Take the robes, and put the coat and the dress, and the ephod, and the priest's bag on Aaron. Put the band of needlework round him, and let the headdress be placed on his head, and the holy crown on the headdress. Then take the oil, and put it on his head, and take his sons, and put their robes on them, and put the linen bands round Aaron and his sons, and the headdresses on them, to make them priests by my order forever. So you are to make Aaron and his sons holy to me. Then let the ox be taken in front of the tent of meeting, and let Aaron and his sons put their hands on its head, and you are to put the ox to death before the Lord at the door of the tent of meeting. Then take some of the blood of the ox, and put it on the horns of the altar with your finger, draining out all the rest of the blood at the base of the altar. And take all the fat covering the inside of the ox, and the fat joining the liver and the 2 kidneys with the fat round them, and let them be burned on the altar. But the flesh of the ox and its skin and its waist parts are to be burned outside the circle of the tents, for it is a sin offering. Then take 1 of the sheep, and let Aaron and his sons put their hands on its head. Then let it be put to death, so that the sides of the altar are marked with its blood. Then the sheep is to be cut up into its parts, and after washing its legs and its inside parts, you are to put them with the parts and the head, and let them all be burned on the altar as a burnt offering to the Lord, a sweet smell, and offering made by fire to the Lord. Then take the other sheep, and after Aaron and his sons have put their hands on its head, you are to put the sheep to death, and take some of its blood, and put it on the point of Aaron's right ear, and of the right ears of his sons, and on the thumbs of their right hands, and the great toes of their right feet, dropping the rest of the blood on the sides of the altar. Then take some of the blood on the altar, and the oil, and put it on Aaron and his robes, and on his sons and on their robes, so that he and his robes, and his sons and their robes may be made holy. Then take the fat of the sheep, the fat tail, the fat covering the insides, and the fat joining the liver, and the 2 kidneys with the fat round them, and the right leg. For by the offering of this sheep they are to be marked out as priests. And take 1 bit of bread, and 1 cake of oiled bread, and 1 thin cake out of the basket of unleavened bread which is before the Lord, and put them all on the hands of Aaron and of his sons, to be waved for a wave offering before the Lord. Then take them from their hands, and let them be burned on the burnt offering on the altar, a sweet smell before the Lord, an offering made by fire to the Lord. Then take the breast of Aaron's sheep, waving it before the Lord, and it is to be your part of the offering. So you are to make holy the breast of the sheep which is waved, and the leg which is lifted up on high, that is, of the sheep which is offered for Aaron and his sons. And it will be their part as a right forever from the children of Israel. It is a special offering from the children of Israel, made from their peace offerings, a special offering lifted up to the Lord. And Aaron's holy robes will be used by his sons after him. They will put them on when they are made priests. For 7 days the son who becomes priest in his place will put them on when he comes into the tent of meeting to do the work of the holy place. Then take the sheep of the wave offering, and let its flesh be cooked in water in a holy place, and let Aaron and his sons make a meal of it, with the bread in the basket, at the door of the tent of meeting. All those things which were used as offerings to take away sin, and to make them holy to be priests, they may have for food. But no one who is not a priest may have them, for they are holy food. And if any of the flesh of the offering or of the bread is over till the morning, let it be